A humble garbage collector discovers a luxury mansion. The billionaire's secret is shocking. Danny had always believed that truth was hidden in the shadows, and that day he stumbled into a world far beyond the reach of his dull daily grind. As he tossed another bag of trash into the dumpster behind the infamous mansion of Victor Kane, something shimmered under the debris. It was a glimmer, a whisper of possibility, amidst the stench of discarded dreams. The mansion loomed like a fortress, towering walls adorned with intricate carvings, windows that sparkled like jagged jewels. Rumors swirled in town about the billionaire who inhabited it. They said he basked in luxury while clutching secrets darker than the alleyways Danny trudged through. Each story painted him as a puppet master of deceit, pulling strings that tangled the lives of those who crossed his path. Curiosity piqued, Danny leaned closer to the dumpster, pushing aside crumpled fast food bags. His heart raced as he discovered a hidden entrance. It was barely noticeable, a narrow gap behind rusted metal. He hesitated. Thoughts of his mother flashed in his mind, sick, struggling in their little apartment. This was the chance to break free, to find a way out of the grime that consumed him. With one deep breath, he squeezed through the opening, emerging into a world unlike any he had ever known. The air shifted. The scent of fresh flowers replaced the stench of refuse. A grand hallway stretched out before him, lined with exquisite paintings and lavish furnishings. It felt like stepping into a daydream, or perhaps a nightmare. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the floor. Danny's pulse quickened. Was it Victor Kane? The man was a ghost, rarely seen but whispered about in hushed tones. To his surprise, it was the billionaire himself, standing before him, eyes sharp as glass. "Who are you?" Victor's voice sliced through the air, low and threatening. "I'm just a garbage collector," Danny stammered, feeling the weight of his uniform, the badge of humble labor, pressing down on him. Victor studied him, a flicker of something, interest, fear, crossing his face. "You don't belong here, but perhaps you can help me." Danny's mind raced. What help could he possibly offer to a man shrouded in wealth and malice, yet Victor's next words shattered his expectations. "My family's legacy is tainted. There's a rival, someone who wants to see me fall. You might know something about them." Danny clenched his fists. He had heard whispers in town, hints of discontent brewing around Kane's empire. But what could that mean for him? Caught between Victor's dark past and his own desperate aspirations, Danny felt a lump form in his throat. Could he dare to align himself with this enigmatic figure? What peril lurked alongside his dreams? Just then, footsteps echoed down the hall, the sound of approaching doom. Danny's heart raced. He was in too deep, and suddenly, the allure of prosperity felt dangerously close to the edge of a precipice. "Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact." Danny's heart raced as the footsteps drew near. He was caught in a web, spun from his own desperation and Victor Kane's dark allure. The weight of the moment pressed down on him, a scream bubbling up inside. But he held it back. The threat was real. Victor motioned for Danny to keep quiet, his expression shifting to something unreadable. The footsteps echoed closer, the polished floor amplifying each sound. Suddenly, the large oak door at the end of the hallway swung open. A woman stepped inside, a figure crowned with fiery red hair. Her presence was electric, but it was her eyes, piercing and filled with a storm that froze Danny in place. Victor's entire demeanor changed. Elena, he said softly, almost reverently. Danny's pulse surged. Who was this woman? She held a power that overshadowed even Victor. Elena. Victor continued, This is not what it looks like. Panic flared in his voice. Elena chuckled darkly, closing the distance. Oh, but it is, Victor. You've been so worried about your empire crumbling, and yet here is a golden opportunity. She turned to Danny, her gaze piercing through him. You're the perfect pawn, aren't you? Danny shifted uneasily. He sensed the shift in energy, saw Victor's facade cracking. He felt caught between a world he barely understood and the facade of a powerful family in freefall. What do you mean? Danny managed to choke out. Elena stepped closer, her voice low and conspiratorial. Victor thinks he can control everything. But the truth is, he's on borrowed time, she said, a sly smile creeping across her lips. His empire is built on secrets. Every treasure comes with a price. Danny's stomach nodded. He didn't understand. He didn't want to get tangled in this. I just collect garbage, he replied weakly, trying to find comfort in his mundane life. Suddenly, Elena's demeanor shifted. She laughed, a sharp sound that echoed off the chilly walls, ringing with a mixture of disdain and cold amusement. Ah, but that's where you're wrong. You've stumbled into the depths of something much larger than trash, dear. Before he could respond, her attention flickered to Victor. You think you can intimidate them into silence? She spat. Your dirty secrets are starting to pile up, Victor. You can't hide from what you really are. Victor's expression hardened into something dark and dangerous. You don't know what you're talking about, Elena, he warned, his voice low and menacing. But Danny sensed the tremor behind his words. Was this the real Victor Kane? Something monstrous lurking beneath the surface? A sharp crack shot across the room, startling them all. Danny winced, instinctively stepping back. It sounded like a gunshot. Elena's eyes widened, a flicker of fear breaking through her bravado. As if time froze, the three held their breath, Danny's chest tight with confusion and adrenaline. Victor's expression flickered, revealing a vulnerability he had skillfully masked. Please stay back, Victor whispered. But just then, the wall beside them exploded in a shower of dust and debris. In the chaos, Danny ducked instinctively, his heart pounding in his throat. Shadows moved outside, and they all heard the sound of multiple footsteps approaching, getting louder. Victor, you can't run forever, a voice shouted from the shadows. Fear swirled inside Danny as he grappled with the reality unfolding. Who was chasing Victor? What secrets were unraveling before his eyes? Everything he thought he understood about this world, about Victor, was crumbling around him. And just like that, he was stumbling down a rabbit hole darker and deeper than he ever imagined. Would he dare to follow? The choice loomed like a storm. As the footsteps drew nearer, he couldn't help but wonder what it would cost to find the truth. Would he be just another pawn in a game that was far beyond him? Or was there more to gain? As the tension thickened, Danny understood. This was just the beginning. The chaos swallowed the hallway. Dust dancing in thick clouds around them, Danny's heart hammered, the sound echoing in his ears. He crouched behind Victor, his mind racing, trying to piece together what was happening. Victor, he heard Elena shout, urgency creeping into her voice. We need to leave, now. Around them, shadows loomed larger, and footsteps multiplied. A secret world, so close yet so terrifying, suddenly felt like a trap ready to snap shut. Danny glanced at Victor, whose face twisted into something dark, more desperate than Danny had seen before. They're coming for you, Elena hissed, her calm demeanor cracking. If they catch you, it's over. Danny shifted uncomfortably, the weight of his uniform feeling heavier than ever. Who were these people? What terrible truth lay beneath the surface of Victor's empire? But just as those thoughts slid through his mind, a sharp crash sounded from the direction of the entrance, escalating the tension. Then the door burst open. In stepped two men, faces obscured by faces' masks, eyes glinting like knives. Panic flooded Danny's veins. He wanted to run, but his feet felt like cement. "Victor Kane," one of them growled, voice cold as ice. "We have business." Elena took a step back, hands raised, her bravado slipping. "You've made a mistake," she warned, her voice shaky. "This isn't what you think." But before she could finish, the other masked man lunged forward. "No more games. We know everything, and now you'll pay." The atmosphere crackled, like static before a storm. Victor straightened, his expression morphing from fear to fury. "You'll regret this," he shouted. But his voice wavered. Then, as if the world had tilted, the first man pulled a sleek gun from his jacket, pointing it straight at Victor. Danny's breath caught in his throat, heart racing. This was no mere confrontation. They were threats incarnate. "Stop," Danny blurted, instinctively stepping forward. His instinct was to protect, even though his hands trembled. "You can't—" But that was when everything changed. The first man's finger twitched on the trigger, but just as he was about to pull it, a loud bang erupted behind them. A red flash darted across the hallway, and in a blink, everything went dark. Danny felt the rush of wind and the weight of bodies crashing around him, a blur of movement. Chaos. He hit the floor hard, flesh against marble. Dizzy, he struggled to comprehend what was happening. Eyes wide, searching the frantic scene. "Danny," he heard Victor shout, voice thin and broken. Then, silence. Danny fought to comprehend, confusion clogging his thoughts. He felt a presence looming, a heavy shadow over him. He glanced up, and then he saw a figure emerging from the dust. Elena, hair disheveled, face twisted in horror. But her gaze wasn't on him. It was fixed on Victor. "He had to die," she said, her voice low, filled with something Danny couldn't comprehend. "Betrayal, perhaps. You don't know what you're dealing with." Danny's heart plunged. "What do you mean?" Reality twisted around him. "You planned this, Danny?" "Listen." Victor's voice broke through, desperate and raw. "Don't believe her. She's lying." Before he could finish, another sound exploded. This time, the click of another gun. But it wasn't pointed at Victor. It was aimed at Elena. Danny's breath seized. "No, stop," he shouted, voice cracking. But then, it happened. A figure stepped out of the shadows, a woman with striking blue eyes. "Elena, you've done well to play your part," she said coolly. "But this ends now. Victor's legacy dies here. And so do you." Shock rippled through Danny. What was even happening? Was Elena the traitor? Or was it Victor? As chaos unfurled around him, he realized he was trapped amidst the war. He didn't even understand. "I can't," he stammered, feeling the ground slip away beneath him. What did they all want? What was their secret? But the woman's eyes narrowed. "You've wandered too deep, Danny. Now you'll learn the truth, or you won't leave this place alive." The air froze around them. Tension swelled and tightened, like a noose. Danny's mind spun, caught between the fragments of betrayal, power, and the lurking shadows of danger. What had he gotten into? Would he ever find the answers he sought, or was he destined to become another secret lost in the dark? Elena's voice sliced through the thick air, but Danny barely heard her. His heart pounded in his ears, drowning out everything but the panic that gripped him. He stared at the woman with blue eyes, fear mingling with confusion. Her cold gaze bore into him like a spotlight, uncovering every secret he didn't even know he had. "Now you'll learn the truth, or you won't leave this place alive." What did that mean? Panic fused with urgency. Who was she? Why was this all happening? But before Danny could respond, the ground shook beneath them. It wasn't a tremor, it was an explosion of sound. Windows shattering and walls buckling. A massive figure burst into the room, larger than life. The dust whirled around a man in tactical gear, a helmet glinting under the light. He was a whirlwind of chaos, and he was here for blood. "Fall back," he shouted, brandishing a weapon of his own, laser-focused on Victor. Danny was frozen in shock. Was this yet another threat? Were they all in danger? The way they were moving, it felt like they were in the middle of a battlefield, Shouts filled the air, bodies shifting, adrenaline surging. "Get down," Victor yelled, pushing Danny aside as the tactical man fired. A flash of light burst from the muzzle, a crack echoing in the hallway. The world exploded into chaos. Danny hit the floor hard. He pressed his back against the cool marble, breathing heavily. He couldn't comprehend the scene. Bodies scrambling, bullets flying, chaos enveloping him like a cold fog. "Elena." Victor's voice rang out like a bell, cutting through the noise. But when Danny glanced up, everything changed in a heartbeat. The tactical man took aim, but before he could pull the trigger, Elena lunged forward. Throwing herself against him, in one fluid motion she knocked the gun aside, but a scream erupted when she felt the sharp blade hit her side. Time stopped. Danny's heart dropped as she fell, crimson leaking through her fingers. He couldn't breathe. He couldn't process what he was seeing. She had saved him, and now she was bleeding out on the cold floor. "Elena!" Victor roared, rushing to her side. Danny scrambled to his feet, his heart racing as he moved closer, desperate to help. But then Elena turned her gaze to Victor, her eyes wild. You have to know they're coming for you, for all of us." Her breath hitched, trembling with pain. "The truth, it's not what you think. You weren't meant to inherit. It was never yours." What did that mean? Danny felt a chill race down his spine. Her last words hung in the air, thick with implications he couldn't begin to untangle. It was as if the entire foundation of their world was cracking beneath him. A gasp escaped Victor's lips, raw and exposed. "What are you saying?" Panic washed over him, eyes wide in disbelief. But before she could respond, the tactical man moved in again, summoning all the chaos back to life. He grabbed Elena, moving close, and just as it seemed all was lost, she whispered a name, just one word that felt like a razor slicing through the storm. "Mother." Danny felt the world tilt. What was happening? Who was Elena? With that one word, everything shifted. The battle, the secrets, the empire, it all had roots he didn't understand. Mother? Was she connected to all of this? Thoughts spiraled in his head, secrets laid bare like a bloody canvas. What did they mean, and how deep did this rabbit hole go? The room fell silent. All eyes turned toward Elena as she drew a painful breath. The tension grew thick, choking. "Help me. I didn't mean to," she groaned. Real terror etched across her face, yet everything was collapsing around them. As the tactical man's desperation turned into recklessness, Danny stood frozen, overwhelmed by the weight of choice. He might hold the key. The truth was slipping through his fingers. Suddenly, a roaring explosion from outside shook the room again, more urgent this time, rattling them to their core. The chaos outside had shifted to something far more sinister. The walls felt alive, pressing in on him. Danny's heart thundered. Who was really the enemy? Who could he trust? Everything depended on the next few moments. Would he unravel this mystery? Or would everything they built burn to ashes around him? As shadows crawled closer, Danny knew one thing. The truth was closer than ever. But so was danger, lurking around every corner. The air hung heavy with chaos as Danny crouched, heart racing. Blood pooled beneath Elena, a stark crimson against the cold marble. Victor hovered close, panic painted across his face. Every instinct screamed to act, but fear froze him in place. How had it come to this? His mind whirled as he tried to piece together the fragments of truth swirling around him. You can't die," Victor shouted, cradling Elena's head in his hands. "Not like this." Elena's eyes fluttered open briefly, confusion clouding her gaze. "Victor, you have to listen." Her voice was a whisper, soaked with pain. "The family, it's not what you think. The legacy, I'm not who you believe." "What do you mean?" Victor pressed, voice breaking. Danny felt a chill crawl down his spine. Every moment felt crucial. Before Elena could respond, a crack echoed in the hallway, filling the air with dread. The tactical man, still lurking with his gun raised, stood poised like an executioner waiting for a signal. "Enough of this," he growled. "You think you can hide, Kane? The truth is buried with her." Danny felt his heart seize. What truth? What did he even know? The room pressed in around him, shadows flickering like lost hopes. In that moment, the ground shook again, but this time it wasn't just an explosion. It was bigger, more ominous. And then came a voice from the shadows, dark, rich, powerful. "Shut it down." A man appeared, stepping from behind the broken doorway, and every face turned to him. He was tall, sharp features cut like granite. Confidence radiated off him like heat. Danny tensed, recognizing the aura of authority. It was Fletcher Hayes, the well-known businessman, rival of Victor Kane. "What are you doing here?" Victor seethed, eyes narrow. "Cleaning up your mess," Fletcher replied, swaggering forward. He glanced at Elena on the floor, and his smile twisted into something sinister. "You were always the weakest link, Elena, always hiding behind your family name." Danny's breath caught in his throat. This wasn't just a power struggle. This was a blood feud. "Victor, listen. He's using you," Elena gasped, desperation flooding her voice. "Everything I found, the truth about your family. It's bigger than you realize. Fletcher has been—" The sudden sound of sirens erupted outside, red and blue lights flashing through the shattered windows. Chaos grew like a storm. Fletcher's smile faded as reality rushed in. "Do you hear that?" he said coldly, turning to Victor. "It's time to end this charade. You're going to lose everything." Danny's heart raced again. This was escalating. He felt the urge to move, to act, but he was trapped in a web of lies and secrets. Then something inside him snapped. "I don't understand," he blurted out, eyes darting between Victor and Fletcher. "What's the truth?" Fletcher turned towards him, intrigued. The garbage collector wants to know. How quaint." He leaned in, a smirk curling his lips. "Your little life. It all ties back to the Kane legacy. Secrets, debts, and a hidden past." Danny's stomach twisted. He felt exposed, like the very foundation of his existence was about to crumble. "Enough," Victor shouted, cracking. "I won't let you manipulate this." But just as the tension peaked, everything shifted. In an instant, the door burst open again, and in walked a figure Danny hadn't expected. It was his mother. Her face was pale but determined, and she stepped through the doorway like a ghost stepping back into life. "Danny," she shouted, voice ringing out above the chaos. "You have to come with me." Time froze. His mind raced. What was she doing here? She hadn't been well. This was too much. "Mom, stay back," Danny yelled, fear clawing at his throat. "Elena, it's time to tell them," she said suddenly, turning towards the group. "What I have kept hidden for so long." Danny's heart pounded. What was happening? The layers of secrets, the lies, everything felt like it was unraveling. He glanced between his mother and Elena, confusion seeping into his thoughts. "Mom, what do you mean?" he asked, his voice strained. "It's time you understand your father didn't die in that accident," she said, each word heavy with weight. "He was murdered, and your family is tied to it, Danny. Tied to so much more than you know." Shock rippled through everyone in the room. Danny felt the ground drop beneath him. His entire reality was tilting. Murdered? What did that even mean? As the air crackled with tension and new truths unraveled, he could only wonder, what else lay hidden in the shadows? What was left to discover? And in the heart of chaos, he felt the walls closing in. Every shadow a haunting reminder that he was falling deeper. Right into the dark heart of a family legacy he never knew existed. Danny's world tilted on its axis. His mother's words reverberated in his mind, echoing like a distant thunder. "Your father didn't die in that accident. He was murdered." The room around him felt heavier, as if the very air was saturated with secrets. He was standing on the edge of a chasm, peering into the darkness. "Mom, what are you talking about?" Danny's voice trembled, desperation clawing at his throat. Elena gasped, pain etched across her face, but her eyes blazed with intensity. "You have to understand, Danny. Your family is involved in this. There are connections." "Stop." Fletcher's voice cut through the tension, sharp and commanding. "This is pointless. None of you know who you're really dealing with." His gaze shifted to Danny, a cruel smile twisting his lips. "You think you can just stroll into this mess and take the truth back home? It doesn't work like that." The tactical man shifted, gun still raised. "You have no idea what you're in the middle of, kid. It's too late for you." Everything felt like it was spiraling. Danny's heart raced. Who was telling the truth? Was his father's death a part of a larger game? Sirens wailed outside, closing in, each beat a reminder of the reality crashing down around them. "What's going on?" Danny shouted, fear creeping into his voice. "What did my father find out?" But before anyone could respond, another explosion rocked the mansion. The very ground shook, the ceiling rattled, and the glass broke like fragile promises. Dust swirled, catching the light in a hazy glow. "Get down!" Victor yelled, yanking Elena back as the tactical man staggered. But his grip was firm, and the moment of chaos created a brief window of opportunity for Danny. Everything turned to slow motion as Danny dashed towards the hallway, heart hammering. He swept past his mother, her eyes wide with fear, but filled with hope. "Danny, wait! It's dangerous!" But he couldn't stop. He needed answers. He burst through the door, into the main chamber, just as another figure stepped inside, the last person he'd expect to see. It was his father. "Dad?" Danny's voice cracked, disbelief flooding through him. He froze. At the sight, a ghost that shouldn't be alive. His father looked older, weariness etched in every line of his face. "Danny, I—" A sharp gasp escaped Danny as he stumbled back. "It's a trick. It can't be you." But the warmth in his father's eyes felt so real, so familiar. "Listen, son, you need to trust me," his father urged, voice low. "Fletcher is not who you think he is. We were investigating him. There are ties to your mother." "What? What do you mean?" Panic surged anew. Everything felt like it was unraveling, his heart in knots as he grasped at fragments of clarity. "Fletcher isn't just a rival business tycoon. He's part of the syndicate. The same one that was after me, and now, after you." A fresh chill coursed through Danny. "What are you saying?" Just then the tactical man burst in behind them, rage boiling over in his eyes. "What is he doing here?" But Fletcher's voice cut through the air like a knife. "I had enough of this charade." He turned toward Danny's father, a knowing smile playing on his lips, dark and sinister. "You should have stayed dead, Richard. Now you've put your son in even more danger." Danny felt everything shift. His father's presence, once a comfort, now felt like a ticking time bomb. "Dad, what really happened?" A gunshot rang out, deafening, and everything exploded into chaos. In the split second that followed, Danny's father lunged, pushing Danny aside, but not before Danny caught. A glimpse of betrayal in his father's eyes. The air sang with tension as Danny realized everything he thought he knew was built on shaky ground. "Dad!" he shouted, but all he met was darkness, as the weight of the truth crashed down irrevocably. Would he lose everything he thought was real? Would the real enemy be who he least expected? Danny felt the world shatter around him. The air thickened with dread and adrenaline rushed through his veins. He barely registered the tactical man's gunshot as his father's body moved instinctively, pushing him aside. The chaos pulsed in his ears, a symphony of fear and desperation. "Dad!" Danny screamed, terror slicing through him as he rushed forward. But before he could reach him, a deafening crash echoed through the hallway. The walls shuddered, debris raining down as the mansion rocked like a ship in a storm. It felt like everything was collapsing, and in that moment, he grasped the weight of uncertainty heavier than ever. Elena's body lay there, pale and gasping, Victor, cradling her head, wide eyes filled with panic. "No, no, don't go," he cried, desperation spilling forth. But right then, as the mansion quaked, something shifted in the shadows. Danny's eyes darted toward the door just as another figure emerged. This one wasn't any stranger, it was his mother, and she looked frantic. "Danny, you have to listen," she shouted, voice trembling but urgent. "Mom, what is happening?" His heart raced. He wanted to believe it, wanted to reach out for her. But this felt unreal, like a nightmare you couldn't wake from. And then came her words, the truth that cut sharper than any weapon. "I didn't want you to know, but you're not mine. You're a Cain." The room fell silent, shock rippling through the air like a live wire. Danny felt the floor drop from beneath him. A Cain? He was living in a nightmare. "Mom, don't say that." Anguish clawed at him, the hurt wild and raw. "You're my mother." Elena's eyes darted to Danny, confusion and concern mixing in a volatile concoction. "No, Danny, it can't be true, your mother." But then Fletcher stepped forward, eyes gleaming with malice. "She's playing you, boy. You're just a pawn in this game of chaos. Your real heritage is the key." "What do you mean?" Danny's body trembled, hot and cold at the same time. The truth was slipping through his fingers like sand. "Your mother, she's been keeping you from your power." Fletcher's smile were jagged and cruel. "You were born into a legacy that could bring empires down." "Stop! Just stop!" Danny shouted, his voice cracking. Fear clenched his gut. The urge to run surged, but he was frozen, caught in the whirlwind of revelations and panic. His father staggered to his feet, face drawn tight as he looked at Danny. "Listen to me. There are those out there who will not stop until they have you. They will use you." But before Danny could process it, the tactical man lunged, grabbing his father and spinning him around. "Enough, you're all finished here." Just then, the walls shuddered again as an unseen force hit the house. Dust swirled like a storm, crashing through the room like an avalanche. The lights flickered ominously. And then, silence. Everything came to a halt. Just as Danny sought to comprehend, the shadow lurked behind him. He turned, heart racing, only to find a massive figure stepping forward from the haze, someone who had been playing this game from the start. It was his father's old partner, a man he had trusted above all, Stuart. "You should have known better, Danny." "Stuart?" The name felt like a dagger lodged in his throat. "I've been waiting for this moment." Stuart's voice soothed the chaos dripping with disdain. "You were supposed to be the perfect heir. Instead, you've been a waste of time." Panic flooded Danny's senses. Would nothing be what he believed? As the tension thickened, Stuart revealed a small device from his pocket, a remote control. "With this, everything changes." "Wait, what?" Danny's voice shook, confusion strangling him. "What are you talking about?" Stuart smirked, eyes glinting as he pressed a button. Suddenly, the walls shifted, revealing hidden doors embedded within the mansion. "Welcome to the real legacy." The ground rumbled beneath them, and a hidden chamber began to open, the secrets of the Cain Empire yawning wide. "Come, Danny, your true inheritance awaits." And in that moment, reality twisted around him. A new path lay ahead, darker than he could imagine. Would he step into the shadows, or would he burn it all down? The choice loomed before him like an unsolvable puzzle, and all he could feel was the thundering of his own heart. The ground rumbled beneath them, and fear spiraled inside Danny. He felt trapped, caught in a web of secrets that threatened to swallow him whole. Stuart's smug grin loomed as he brandished the device, the atmosphere thick with tension. "Your true inheritance awaits." The words slithered out, taunting, as the walls revealed the hidden passage, a yawning chasm into darkness. Every instinct in Danny screamed to run, to escape this nightmare, but curiosity clawed at him. "No," he breathed, "I won't follow you." Stuart's smile tightened. "You think you have a choice? You've already stepped into the game." Suddenly, A deafening crash sounded from the entrance, jolting everyone. Shadows poured in like a flood, and chaos erupted again. Danny's heart raced as figures emerged from the darkness. Agents clad in black, faces obscured. "Secure the area," one barked, voice booming. "We're looking for Kane." Victor's body went rigid, eyes wide. "Run!" he shouted, panic flickering across his features. But instead of running, Danny felt an unexpected surge of defiance. "Confront him," he shouted, aiming his voice at the intruders. "Tell me the truth." In that moment, a hand shot out, grabbing his shoulder. It was Elena, pale but fierce. "Danny, don't. You don't understand." "I deserve to know," he shouted back, stepping out from her grip, pushing past the chaos, all the lies, all the secrets. They were suffocating him. And then it happened. The ground beneath them shuddered, a massive tremor erupting from below. Suddenly, the floor split open, the hidden chamber yawning wide, revealing a staircase spiraling deep into inky darkness. "I won't let you do this," Danny yelled. But as he spoke, something unbelievable unfolded. The walls shimmered, not just wood and stone, but layers peeling back like old paint. "What is happening?" Victor shouted, struggling to stay upright. But then came the wildest revelation. Figures stepped out of the shadows, emerging from the very walls. Danny felt his breath hitch. They were all familiar faces, the Kane family, alive and vibrant. Each one looked at him with a kind of knowing that turned his insides to ice. "Welcome home, Danny," a voice boomed, and with it came a figure he'd never expected to see. It was his father, youthful and untouched by pain. Time seemed to freeze as Danny gaped, reality distorting in on itself. "Dad? How is this possible?" A cruel smile appeared on Stuart's face, revealing rows of perfect teeth. "Now you see, don't you? You were always more than just a pawn. You're the key, the true heir to a legacy that never died." "Enough!" cried Elena, her voice trembling with urgency. "You don't know what you're doing." But the moment hung heavy as whispers filled the air, illuminating truths Danny could never have fathomed. The people he thought were dead, trapped in his father's past. Every one of them surrounded him, eyes locked on him with expectation. Your father's demise was only a cover-up, a ruse. Another family member stepped forward, a woman with fierce eyes. "We've been waiting for you to join us. Your destiny awaits." The weight of their words crashed over him. Everything he'd known, washed away like dust in the wind. Suddenly, the shadows didn't feel like mere threats. They felt like a part of him, a twisted family legacy he couldn't escape. Fletcher's laughter rang out, sharp and mocking. "Oh, Danny, you're about to learn just how deep this game goes." The brothers, the sisters, the eerie resemblance, it all made sense now. He was part of this dark legacy, tangled in deceit and hidden truths. But before he could process it, his mother's face emerged from the crowd. "Danny, listen to me." "It's not what you think," she cried, desperation painting her features. And at that moment, just as clarity began to pierce through the chaos, the ground beneath his feet rocked once more. Darkness threatened to swallow them whole. "Danny," a voice cried out, but it faded into the cacophony of confusion. The faces of the family flickered, reality splintering like shattered glass. Were they allies or ghosts? Every instinct urged him to flee, yet curiosity anchored him to that spot. Who was he really? What would he become? As shadows loomed larger, he understood one thing. This was only the beginning. What awaited him? In that twisted legacy lurking in the shadows, would he dive deeper, or would he fight his way back to the light? The choice felt heavier than anything he'd ever faced. The ground shook again, its rumble vibrating beneath Danny's feet, as tension swirled like a tempest around him. He stood frozen, staring at his father, while shadows closed in. The faces of those he thought he knew flickered, with a light that felt like betrayal, but also hope. "Danny," his father's voice was urgent, cutting through the chaos. "You have to trust me." But in that moment, Something snapped. Stuart, the dark silhouette at the edge of the scene, raised his remote again. Panic constricted Danny's chest. He couldn't let this happen. "Stop!" he yelled. Then, without warning, the walls behind Stuart burst open, revealing a hidden corridor. A whirlwind of flashing lights erupted from within, engulfing the room in a blinding glow. Danny shielded his eyes, confusion swallowing him whole. "Elena," he cried, turning to her, desperate for guidance. But she was crouched low, fear dancing in her eyes. "Danny, get out," she shouted, pushing him back, but too late. Before he could retreat, a deafening roar echoed from the corridor. A massive figure emerged, draped in dark leather, eyes shining with an unsettling intensity. It was his mother, but not the mother he knew. She looked fierce and powerful, a creature forged in fire. "Mom?" Danny's voice trembled, unable to grasp the vision before him. "What happened to you?" Without answering, she stepped into the room like a pent-up storm, energy surging off her in waves. "You were meant for more than this," she declared, her voice resonating. "They have been hiding you from your true purpose." Stuart's expression twisted, rage flashing across his face. "You shouldn't have come back, Ava. This was not part of the plan." "What plan?" Danny demanded, stepping closer. "What are you all hiding?" The ground shuddered again. The room tilted as the shadows came alive, and all eyes fell on Danny, weighing him down with expectation. "You're not just his son. You're the one who can bring it all crashing down." "What are you talking about?" Danny shouted, heart racing. "What do you mean?" Ava took a deep breath, her fierce gaze locking onto him. "Your father's legacy is built on lies, and you are the key to unraveling everything. The truth is buried in the past, and so are you." Suddenly, the sound of gunfire pierced the air. Bullets whizzed past him, striking the walls with sinister cracks. "Get down!" Danny shouted, reflexively dropping to the floor. Chaos erupted as they fumbled to escape the gunfire. Stuart lunged toward Ava, but she moved like lightning, deflecting him with an agility that left Danny breathless. In that moment, time stretched, the world around him twisting as he struggled to grasp what was happening. Then came the release of a heavy weight. Something slid from Ava's sleeve, a dagger forged from obsidian, glinting in an unnatural light. Danny's heart raced. "Mom, don't!" But it was too late. With a swift, fierce motion, she thrust the dagger into Stuart's side. His eyes widened, surprise and rage transforming his features into something unrecognizable as he stumbled back. "Impossible!" he gasped, collapsing. Stunned silence enveloped the room. The dust settled, revealing a shocking tableau. Stuart was on the ground, a pool of blood spreading beneath him. Danny felt the world shift again. He had always thought that his mother was just a victim, a figure shrouded in concern and weariness. But this was strength. A newfound truth crashed over him. "Mom, what are you?" Ava stepped closer, breathing hard, her eyes fierce and wild. "I did what was necessary to protect you. You don't understand. They've been lying, manipulating everything. This isn't just about your father's legacy." Her voice cracked, but the intensity burned bright. "It's about you, Danny. You're part of a war that's been raging long before you were born." His mind reeled. Relationships twisted like vines, pain and loyalty intertwined in unimaginable ways. Who could he trust now? And then, the heavy silence shattered, with the sound of a distant siren creeping closer. The police were coming. Time was slipping away. "Danny, this isn't over," his mother said, urgency etched in her voice. The reality around him felt unstable, like a storm threatening to break. "Then what do we do?" he shouted, panic clawing at him as the light grew dim in the chaos. But just as she opened her mouth to respond, the walls began to shift again. A hidden door at the back splintered open, revealing a narrow passageway that beckoned with darkness. "Go," Ava urged, pushing him toward it. "You need to run, find the truth before they find you." The gravity of her words weighed him down. Every instinct screamed at him to obey. But just as hope flickered for the way forward, Ava's expression twisted in terror. "No, they're here!" Danny turned to look as shadows converged around them, figures racing through the smoke-filled hallway. Every fiber of his being told him to flee, but uncertainty thundered in his mind. Would he really leave his mother behind? The choices seemed impossible. Tension crackled as danger loomed closer, the walls of his world closing in. What lay ahead? Was this end, or the beginning of something much darker? As Danny took a step forward, the passage yawned open, inviting yet foreboding. Would he uncover the truth, or would it consume him whole? The air grew heavy as Danny stood at the edge of the hidden corridor, heart racing. Urgency filled every fiber of his being. He could still hear the echoes of chaos behind him, gunfire, shouting, and the fading breaths of those he cared about. But now he had a choice to make, one that could change everything. "Go," Ava urged again, her fierce gaze pleading. "You have to find the truth, Danny. You're more than just a pawn in their game." Danny looked at his mother, this ferocious warrior who had protected him from the shadows. "But I can't leave you." She shook her head, fear swimming in her eyes. "The key to breaking this cycle. You have to trust me." With one last pained glance at her, he took a deep breath, the weight of the moment crashing into him. He sprinted down the narrow passage, heart pounding like a drum, fueled by every story his father had told him about honor and family. None of it prepared him for the truth. The hallway twisted and turned, darkness pressing in on him from both sides. His legs moved on instinct as he skidded around a corner, nearly colliding with a heavy oak door. He pushed it open, a rusty creak echoing through the silence. Staring into a vast chamber, lit by flickering lights, he felt the air shift. Shadows danced against the walls, revealing vaults of secrets, documents, artifacts, files all tied to his family. He was in the heart of the Kane legacy. The truth lay scattered all before him, begging to be uncovered. Then came the sound of footsteps behind him. Panic surged. He turned to see the tactical man from before, seething with rage. "You really think you can escape?" he snarled, lunging toward Danny. But Danny was faster. He ducked under the attack, adrenaline fueling his movements. He spotted a dusty folder on a nearby table, snatching it up as he dove behind a stack of crates. He opened it, breath hitching as he scanned the pages. Secrets, lies, evidence of betrayal that crossed generations. This was it. Every name tied to his family's downfall was listed like a litany of despair. Fletcher, Stewart. This was bigger than he realized. With newfound resolve, Danny shoved the papers into his jacket. Whatever he had to do, he'd face it head on. He'd uncover the truth and save his family from the clutches of darkness. Just then, a voice echoed down the corridor. "Danny!" It was Elena, her tone urgent and fierce. "We need you back. Now." He hesitated, torn between fleeing deeper into the shadows and returning to help his mother and Victor. But he knew he couldn't turn his back on them. Racing back through the corridors, he found them battered but standing together. Ava was holding her ground against the tactical man, fists raised. Victor stood beside her, bloodied but defiant, eyes afire with determination. "Danny, we have to make our stand," Victor shouted, motioning him closer. "You have the proof." "Prove what?" Danny replied, holding the folder tightly. "That we're all pawns in this?" Ava turned to him, pride shining through the chaos. "You're our future, Danny." "Show them the truth." With a surge of adrenaline, Danny stepped forward, thrusting the folder into the air. "You think you can take us down? You can't hide from the truth." His voice rang clear, powerful enough to cut through the chaos. But in a flash, Stewart barged in again, desperation twisting his features. "You'll regret this." "Enough," shouted Elena, grabbing a nearby piece of debris and throwing it toward him. It struck him squarely in the chest. "This ends now." Danny felt the tide shift. They were united, fighting not just for themselves, but for something bigger. As chaos collided with their resolve, they charged forward, ready to confront their fate. Time fractured, seconds stretching into eternity as they pressed against the dark. The room filled with shouts, the clash of bodies, and the merging of destinies. Finally, as breaths heaved and shadows faded, they stood together, victorious but haunted, in front of the gaping void of the stolen truth. The past could no longer dictate their future. Ava pulled Danny into a fierce embrace. "You did it," she whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. "You made it through." Victor clapped him on the back, a grin breaking through the bruises. A true Cain, after all. Danny took a deep breath, his heart swelling with love for the family he had fought to save. A family now woven tighter through the trials they faced. He would carry the truth forward, a new legacy born from the shadows. As they exited the crumbling mansion that had harbored so many secrets, Danny turned one last time to look at the dark interior, now fading into the past. "I'll remember," he vowed, the world expanding before him, a realm of possibilities. They would rebuild, but the lessons learned would guide them. And as they stepped into the light, they knew the battle for their future would be long, but they were ready. The truth was out, and they would face whatever came next together. You have to subscribe right now. Don't miss any of the next exclusive stories that will grip you just like this one. Smash that like button right now. Every click feeds the algorithm and helps us grow. Flood the comments with your thoughts. What did you think about the ending? What do you think will happen next? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this all wraps up. Your support makes a difference. Let's keep this journey going.